even as Kenyans look to see a reduction in recurrent expenditure and not so much in development expenditure for this year?
That's one of the big conversations that we are going to have going into the future. My only question would be, would it be a honest conversation? Because the manner in which we have conducted public affairs in this country is in a sort of ad hoc and does not adhere to the Constitution. For example, when the finance bill was rejected by the president, one of the things that the president did was to make certain statements. What were those statements? That the budgets of all state entities, that is Parliament, the executive and the judiciary, will be slashed by a certain percentage. A unilateral a decision which has been enforced now by a circular that has come out from Treasury. So what has happened? You find that the judiciary, for example, is now saying we do not even have funds to be able to recruit judges. So the first question you want to ask yourself was, all those issues a honest-based reduction? What informed that unilateral decision? You know, the one thing that people are not understanding is that the finance bill, one, was intended to assist the government to generate additional revenue.
Right.
So that there was a forecast and they were looking at it and they were saying we are unlikely to hit these targets. So to generate additional revenue to be able to meet the following budgetary plans that we had, we need to raise 300 billion. They were unable to do that. So the question for me, and what I thought that would happen, would then be an evaluation of the budget and trying to say, looking at the items, which ones can we do away with and which ones can we not do away with? Mm-hmm. So that it shouldn't have been a unilateral decision that says we are going to scrap off whatever. Because you look at an institution such as the judiciary, grossly underfunded, then you cut its budget. It basically means that they would not be able to perform. Mm-hmm. So what we should have been looking at are the areas where can we cut our expenses? All right. On hosting, catering, whatever, are these places where we can begin to? But when you have this kind of unilateral statements, it really sends a very bad message, because what it does is that it shows that there is absolutely no planning. Okay.
Let's bring in Honorable Ruto, because look at the front page of the Standard. There's an article here that says judiciary first to feel heat of trimmed budget. And sorry, it says here that the Judicial Service Commission has now suspended recruitment, including the planned listing of all additional Court of Appeal judges over the government-wide budget cuts. And Theory asks an honest question: is this going to be an honest conversation moving forward on where we are going to cut and who is going to feel the heat? Many Mheshimiwa say that, and even members of the Finance Committee of the National Assembly told us there will be consequences to even amending the finance bill, one, and now total withdrawal of the finance bill. But it's beginning to look like these consequences are a punishment, so to speak, that you did not support the finance bill, so we're going to slash funding, we're going to slash the school feeding program, we're going to... Are we prioritizing the needs of Kenyans, even in the wake of these budget cuts, in your view?
Thank you. I think, Michelle, it's good also to look at the whole outlook of the budget as it is. Probably judiciary are the first to have come front of the others, but I believe the other agencies will still have to come and make their communique like judiciary. Why? Because of the expected additional revenue of around 400 billion that was supposed to be raised through the finance bill. And remember also there were other challenges even in the 2023 finance bill revenue collection. All these together were geared towards sorting out some given sectors, like a constant factor on debt servicing and the CFS. It is a constant, it's a fixed expenditure that will not be a waiver. We adjust on this one, it will not be touched. Why? Because the law is very clear, it forms the first charge. I'm expecting Parliamentary Service Commission also to make their communique, especially on travels, because most of the expenses on Parliament are recurrent. I'm expecting TAC also to make their communique, because they had good plans to sort out the issues on education sector, especially the JSS. And part of the information that what informed the finance bill was on the intention to confirm around 46,000 teachers on JSS. I'm expecting several communication from all sectors. It's not only on judiciary. The reality and the truth is this: when you're able to drop the entire budget expenditure of Kenya, there will be some critical areas that will not be touched. As I've said, one, CFS, fund services, to sort out the issues of interest on borrowings, that is domestic and foreign. There are some critical areas like devolution, where the law says whatever that's been agreed to, they have to receive their funds. It's also another cost center that have to be adhered to by law. So the flexible areas are those things that you can live with it as it is for now, but probably that one doesn't mean that they will have been stopped forever. What we are saying is that it is a question of just delaying it for a little bit as we look at the situation. I want to believe, as we soul search ourselves and look at the character of some expenditure, that we can manage. It's not the first time Kenya, as a country, we had Malawi the other day, even the president could not travel because of the situation. I think we are also in that particular dispensation where we have to speak to ourselves and say there are some things that are not priority. Issues like foreign travel, he picked on issues like office tea, what we are taking now. We can manage all this. If we are able to sum all these savings and be able to reduce and then refocus resources now to the sector that is able to pay back by triggering the economic growth. Right. I think that would be the best. So what we are saying is, the reality that is within ourselves is that as much as my hand, I feel like maybe my sector is so crucial more than the other. As much as we'll have all this debate, but we'll come to a point where we must give a concession.
Right.
Yes, the president has gone ahead to give concession.
The question is, who is making the concessions? And it seems that, you know, these budget cuts may have to happen.
Of course, Treasury.
Let's take a look. What are your thoughts on this conversation in light even of the conversation in the Senate yesterday?
Let me come in a position where I say we are going to have a lot of unintended consequences. And I do not envy the decisions that His Excellency the President has to make in terms of where to trim the budget and how to do it. Right. Because remember, this is also a constitutional country. It's a country led by a rule of law. Whatever changes that he needs to make has to be within the rule of law. It has to be within the constitutional mandate. But also allow me to differ a little bit on terms of what has been proposed in terms of budget cuts and in terms of the measures that need to be taken on board. I must say that the national government has what I call a ballooning expenditure that is replicated on areas that don't need to be replicated. And if we need to have a candid conversation and come to the truth, there are certain devolved functions that the national government still holds and is a source of expenditure in terms of recurrent that are way above what there needs to be.
Right.
And I'm going to give you an example on two key areas. The areas of water and areas of health. Why am I picking these two things? We have, for example, what we call the water development authorities. For example, we have the Upper Tana, we have the water, we have the Lake region, an example. And then at the counties level, you have what you call the water service providers. And then at the central, at the ministry, I think we have almost 3 parastatals that are doing the same work to develop water across. If we are being candid about cutting back on expenditure, those are some of the areas that we need to go after. Because if you need to develop water resources, take it's a devolved function. Why not take it to the counties? They are the resources. Put that money towards where there is need be. You're going to reduce in terms of the expenditure of those parastatals.
Are you moving the function?
No. Let me first of all conclude, because you also want to look at this. Whatever that, for example, the water does in Murang'a County is supposed to happen within Murang'a County with the resources of devolved functions that are there.
Right.
But also remember, it has allocated the water a budget with its own staff. But then you go to the same Ministry of Water, you have what we call the National Water Harvest Authority. You have another parastatal that is called National Irrigation Authority. You have another one that is called all those other things. If it's the national government looking at national outlook, let it use those three authorities that it has at the national level to have a national outlook.
Right.
But on reticulation and the things that happen at this level, at the levels of the counties, let those functions come down there. So that now those parastatals, they are eliminated from areas that expend money. Secondly, let's go to health. The health mandate within the national government is within research, it's within policy, and it's also within the level 6 facilities. Now look at another and also education in terms of the health workers' education. But when it comes to the counties are in charge from all the level 2s to the level 5 facilities within the county,
right,
and the wage bill that supports that. But look at the budget. The total budget of all the counties in terms of the health budget, is equivalent to 75 billion across the counties. The total health budget across the counties. Yet we are supposed to pay all the salaries, we are supposed to provide all the medicine, we are supposed to provide all the non-farms, we are supposed to provide all the care within all those health facilities. But the national government budget that is only responsible for only education, research, and the level 6 facilities, it has a budget of almost 200 billion.
Okay.
What does that tell you in terms of the national government, in terms of its expenditure, and in terms of areas such as that? Those are some of the areas, if you need to trim, we need to have this honest conversation. Who is spending where the Wanjiko eats? Because look at the counties. You are spending for example, and I'm going to give you an example, we are talking about a recurrent budget that is balloon. In my health department, I allocated 3.1 billion shillings. But 2.1 billion I am using on salaries on doctors, on nurses, on healthcare workers, and everything else. I'm spending 800 million on medicine, non-farms, and every other usages. There is nothing else left.
Okay. Boruto asks an important question when you speak. Are you following these functions with resources? And that essentially should be how it happens when functions are devolved, that resources should follow functions. So where has the problem been? Because
the problem has been, allow me to state one thing. When you retain so much resource at the national government in terms of personnel and in terms of institutions that have no roles, all essentially you are having is people coming in, doing a 2-hour job a day and receiving hefty, what we are calling hefty salaries. If we can be able to trim the ministries that are devolved at the national level, they need to have what we call policy ministries, not a full-fledged ministry. So should agriculture, should areas such as health, so that the bulk of the work where the employees are and where service is being provided at the ground level, they should go back there.
Okay. Ruto, what has the challenge been? Because Murang'a County, for example, crossed the 1 billion shilling mark in terms of on-source revenue, and there's been a push for more and more counties to increase their on-source revenue, which will essentially reduce the burden, even on Mwananchi. So where has the problem been? Because is the Finance Committee of the National Assembly considering these very important concerns when implementing budget cuts where the Mwananchi it's?
Well, thank you so much. I think this has been a discussion way back. I was also serving in county governments. The same thing was being said. We are at a moment engaging CRA trying to look at and saying when we were trying to establish the third formula and trying to look at how the formula is going to address these key issues on population, on density, on areas, on area coverage, and all those parameters that were meant to address the issues. What I just wanted to know, and when I was interjecting the deputy governor here, is are you telling Kenyans that the resources you have is enough to address the issues that you feel that the functions still today in national government are duplicated? And if then so, why can't we start from there and say, look at this, what is in national government is done at Muranga. Can you cancel this one? Can you cancel this one? And then relieve the burden of taxing more Kenyans. But when again you say it should come back, are you suggesting that as it is being dropped down to county governments, it also goes with the budget, related budget? Then what is the difference then there?
What I'm saying here is very simple. If you have, for example, Mheshimiwa here and Wakili here and I doing the same job in different levels of government, why should we have the three of us doing the same job? Right. That's the question. It doesn't. What we, for example, we are providing development. You've answered my question. If we are providing development, we shouldn't be the three of us doing the same job.
You've answered my question, because look at this, Michelle, and I'm sure and the viewers. If you're able to evaluate performance of county governments, it's now around 13 years after devolution. If you're able to evaluate up to now, well, there are some counties that are doing well comparatively, and I want to appreciate your county. For the first time, they were able to hit on their own source revenue target, and we really want to appreciate. But the other counties are still having a lot of problems that it still requires the support of national government on basic things to support. And I don't know what's the problem. Really, I don't understand what's the problem.
Let me bring in theory, because you laughed at that. What makes you laugh?
Do you know why I'm laughing? I'm laughing because of the approbating and reprobating that Mheshimiwa here is having. He asked a very important question. Should these functions, when they are devolved to the counties, follow with the resources? And I think the simple answer should be that you transfer the functions and you transfer the resources. That is the simple answer. What we are looking at is this. We are not saying that this money is should be cut off because this function has been transferred. I mean, that would not even make sense. You transfer the function, then you transfer the resources. But what are we looking at? We are looking at optimum usage of the resources. Because the one thing that we have to agree in this country is that our resources are not indefinite. They are not infinite. They cannot be stretched beyond the limit. And that's the reason why we are having this problem, trying to come in with new laws to raise more money, so that these functions that are being duplicated, you see what in essence is happening is that the Ministry of Health has to come up with programs to make it relevant for it to be able to sustain the budgetary allocations that they are being given. The question is, are they having the greatest impact on mwananchi? Once we start considering that, and let us look at our outlook in terms of our economic outlook. We are growing, our economy has grown, but it is growing on the back of sectors such as agriculture, sectors such as ICT that are bringing in opportunities. But what are we doing to agriculture? We are having a lot of funds being retained at the national
government.
When, if they were taken to counties and those functions carried out at the counties, there would be a greater impact on mwananchi. And the noise that we are now making about all these small things that have culminated in people feeling that the government is insensitive to their suffering would be alleviated. So the question here is not that certain counties are not are performing. In fact, if you look at some of these counties, the resources that they are getting in terms of their share, because of either the size and so many other things, is such that they can only majority just pay their recurrent expenditure. And that is a conversation that we need to have. We are not talking about, we need to start, and that is why I feel like we have a problem. This is so-called a bottom-up government.
All right.
But where are we getting directives from? The directives are coming from the top, going to, and someone is saying, counties will bear the consequences.
Because let me give an example.
Judiciary will bear the consequences. Instead of sitting and saying, this is where we are, this is the money that we have, this function is critical, it will be given money. This one, we can slash it.
Michelle, allow me to give an example, and I want to support Wakili here in terms of what he has said. And let me have just a little bit an example looking at in agriculture. For example, you have what we were calling the bottom-up economic model that that I and Mheshimiwa here came into government with. It was supporting what we are calling minimum guaranteed returns for agriculture. And I want to talk specifics. If, for example, the resources that I have, for example, in the county, I do not have enough extension workers to conduct the work that I need to come up. But we had to be very, and I'll give an example with Moranga, we had to be very creative in what we needed to do. We formed cooperatives on various value chains. We developed, for example, a value chains in mango, in an area where mangoes used to rot and being bought at 2 shillings per kg. Now in Moranga, mangoes are at 23 shillings per kg. An entire value chains with almost 5,000 farmers in it. We are developing value chain in maize with almost 1,700 farmers within a certain cooperatives, taking the resources now from the agriculture department directly supporting now the farmers. The same case we did with the milk value chain, supporting the farmers to own their own factory. So that is not run by the government. We took the entire factory that was supposed to be a county parastatal, and we took it to the farmers and told the farmers, this is your own facility, run it, pay the bills, and value add your milk. These are some of the things that we are saying. Being given the resources and these resources being deferred, not doing some funny things at the national government in areas that we cannot even understand, because areas are different. Whatever is in Moranga County in terms of agriculture is not what is in our neighboring Machakos in terms of agriculture. It's still not the same what is in our neighboring Nyandarua or in even Nakuru. And if you put a national outlook on certain things, you are going to miss the entire point. And if you have an agricultural ministry at the national government, which is not a policy ministry, you are having a fully fledged ministry that reaches to the grassroots level. It's replicating what needs to be done. Bring these resources to the county government. The county government is going to have a little bit of more legroom to conduct more development-oriented agendas. Currently, what you are saying, Mheshimiwa, is very understandable, that counties are have not been robust enough. And that's an area that we can always come to be able to make the systems at the county government level robust enough. Remember, we are only 13 years. Whatever you are saying about robust systems, it takes time to develop systems. But what are we doing with the resources that are being duplicated both at the national level and the county level? And when it comes, for example, and this is the biggest issue that even the Gen Zs are fighting for, they are saying that we have a lot of wage bill, a lot of expenditure. You know, one way of reducing that, not having 2 ministries doing the same job. All
right. And that is the overlapping of functions there. I'd like us to take a break. When we come back, we'll be speaking about the impact then, because even the division of revenue bill, or the county allocation revenue bill, which was based on expected revenues from the rejected finance bill, has been sent back to Parliament for reduction accordingly. What does that mean for services at the devolved unit? But also, when we come back, we'll be hearing especially from Honorable Ruto, as a member of the Finance Committee, on the impact of the Appropriations Bill of 2024 signed by President William Ruto, as well as confusion from Kenyans of a double speak. Are we shelving and cutting the budget? Or are we looking to borrow more? Also, Kenyans will be bracing for more taxes after ESC gazetted external tariffs that will see Kenyans pay more for, among other things, cooking oil, diapers, mobile phones. What does this mean for the country? That's coming up after the break. Do stay with us.
Wewe Mungu nitetea mipango ya Mungu ni ajabu na vile nimeonja pendo wako sasa najua ungeni ya weni baba ungeni